How do you know that God exists? How would you start a conversation if someone asks you this question? How do you know that God exists? Are there ways of knowing the existence of God? How has God revealed himself to us? According to theologians, there are two ways how God has revealed himself to us. There are two ways how God has revealed himself to us. The general revelation and the special revelation. There is no way you will be able to understand God without God's revelation to you. Today we're going to look at the first part of the general revelation. What's the general revelation? Because we're going to look at general revelation. What's the general revelation? Well, by definition, the word general means general. General means for all. It is general. So when we are considering general revelation, it's for everybody. It's for all people. God has revealed himself to all people in all places during all of history. I would explain this to you. How has God revealed himself to mankind? God has revealed himself to all people in all places during all of history. Now, it's important to note that God has revealed himself to all people. Why? This is general revelation. It's for everybody. It's for all. God has revealed himself not just to the Christians, but also to the non-Christians. God has revealed himself not just to the righteous, but also to the unrighteous. God has revealed himself not just to the saints, but also to the sinners. God has revealed himself not just to the believers, but also to the non-believers. Do you know why? It is general revelation. It's for all. Not only has God revealed himself to all people, but God also has revealed himself in all places. In all places. God has revealed himself not only just to the people who are living in the western part of the world. God has revealed himself to the people who are living in the eastern part of the world. Now note something. Not only has God revealed himself to all people, not only has God revealed himself in all places, but God also has revealed himself during all of history. During all of history. In other words, God has revealed himself not only just to the people who are living in the 21st century, like us today, but God also has revealed himself to the people who lived during the first century. God has revealed himself to all people during all of history. As I've said to you before, God has revealed himself to all people in all places during all of history. Therefore, something important we must understand. Doesn't matter where you go in the world, people have a sense of God, and they are without excuse if they reject God. This revelation of God to all people, in all places, during all of history, is known as the general revelation. Now that we know what general revelation is, let's look at the next question. How has this general revelation been communicated to us? How did we receive this general revelation? Well, there are a few ways how this general revelation has been communicated to us. And today we're going to look at two such views or two such ways how God has communicated this general revelation to all people in all places during all of history. First of all, this general revelation has been communicated to us through cosmos. And that's why this view is known as the cosmological view or the cosmological argument. Cosmological view or cosmological argument. You know what cosmos is? By the way, it comes from a Greek word called cosmos. And this Greek word cosmos actually means the world. The world is the cosmos, the universe, the earth, and the orderly arrangement. You know, this universe has been orderly arranged. And the orderly arrangement in this universe, it all comes under cosmos. How do we know that God exists? Look at the cosmos. Look at the creation. Look at the universe. Look at the world. Look at the orderly arrangement as you see in cosmos. Now I want you to jot something down, a cause and effect. I'll be coming back to this a lot, okay? So I want you to jot this thing down in your mind. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. The cosmological argument is based on effect to cause argument. Let me try to explain this to you, how this argument goes. Every effect must have an adequate cause to make it happen. You cannot have an effect without a cause. This lectern, where I've kept my notes this morning, it didn't happen by chance. This is an effect. You're looking at an effect. This building that you are now, you are in this building is an effect. And what's the principle we are talking about? Every effect must have a cause. You cannot have an effect without a cause. Every effect must have an adequate cause to make it happen. When you look at the cosmos, the creation, the universe, the world, you're looking at the effect. Therefore, the cosmos, the creation, the world, or the universe must have a cause. Because, why? You cannot have an effect without a cause. So who is the cause that caused the cosmos? That goes back, the adequate cause is the all-powerful, eternal God. The all-powerful, eternal God. God is the uncaused cause. This is logic. This is simple logic. We are using simple principles. We are looking at effect to cause argument. We are looking at the effect. Every effect must have an adequate cause. This cosmos, this world, this universe, this orderly arrangement that we see in the universe is an effect. Therefore, the effect must have an adequate cause. Who is the adequate cause? God is the adequate cause. God is the uncaused cause. God is the uncaused cause. Now, every effect has a cause. Hence, what's the cause of the universe or the world or the nature or the creation? Because creation cannot create by itself. Now, I'm going to give you 4 answers that you will get. Nothing caused this world. Have you ever heard that? Nothing caused this world. This cosmos, this world came from nothing. Now, I want you to think with me now. Is it possible for something like our cosmos, the universe, the world, the orderly arrangement that we see in the universe to come from nothing? It's like saying this lectern came from nothing. Just came. Nothing. It just happened. This building came from nothing. Just came from nothing. Can you get something? I want you to think now. Can you get something from nothing? How do you spell nothing? N-O-T-H-I-N-G. Nothing is spelled N-O, no thing. Not a thing. That's what nothing means. So nothing means not a thing. How can you get something from not a thing? Is it logically possible? Then we have the second answer. Since the cosmos or the world came from nothing, then it must have created by its own self. Creation was created, the cosmos was created by itself. Now there's a problem here though with this type of logic or this type of reasoning. Do you know why? Because for something to create by itself, are you listening to me now? For something to create by itself, it has to exist and not exist at the same time. You need to think about that, what I just said. For something to create by itself, it has to exist and not exist at the same time. Is it logically possible? Then we have the third answer. Something caused this world. Could be evolution, could be chance, random chance. And there are many, many people who adhere to this view. Fourth answer. Someone caused this world. The someone is God. God caused this world, this cosmos. An atheist who doesn't believe in God will go for the first three answers. Nothing caused this world. The world was created by itself. Something like evolution or chance caused this world. Or a theist who believes in God will go for the fourth answer. God caused this world. I have to say, though, it is hard for me to believe that nothing, I've given you my reasons why, or the world was created by itself, or something like evolution or random chance caused this world. Do you know why? It is easy, reasonable, logical, and sensible for me to believe that God caused this world. Now, that's the first way how the general revelation has been communicated to us. It's for all. As I've mentioned before, this is the cosmological view or the cosmological argument. Now that we know what the view is, let's look at what the scripture has to say about cosmos. Turn to Psalm 19 and verses 1 to 6. Psalm 19 and verses 1 to 6. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens, he has pitched a tent for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming forth from his pavilion, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is hidden from its heat. Psalmist David, according to David, the heavens, the skies, day and night, the sun and its heat declares or tells the glory of God. You know, I love sun. I love sunshine. I love heat. And the mountain gets pretty cold in winter. And you know, when you sit and enjoy the warmth of the sun on a freezing winter's afternoon, that heat that you enjoy on your skin on a freezing winter's afternoon is declaring the glory of God. What we read here, and the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Note the word proclaim. The word proclaim actually means declare. It declares with authority. The skies are proclaiming and declaring with authority. I want you to note something very interesting. There's something very interesting about this revelation. This revelation is constant and it is continual. Look at verse 2. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they display knowledge. The heavens are continually proclaiming. The skies are continually declaring. Day after day, night after night, without any rest. You know, even as preachers, we don't continually preach, do we? We take rest. We don't preach 24 hours. Creation doesn't rest. Creation doesn't rest. Cosmos doesn't rest. Creation continues to preach. Cosmos continues to declare and proclaim. Day after day, they pour forth speech. When I am not preaching, the cosmos is preaching. When I'm not declaring, the creation is declaring. Night after night, which means sunset to sunrise, they display, they tell knowledge. And note something. This declaration, this proclamation, this communication, this revelation is for all people. Look at verses 3 and 4. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. Here we see clearly that this revelation is for all people. Doesn't matter what language you speak, whether you speak Greek or Hebrew or English or Latin. It doesn't matter what language you speak. Doesn't matter where people live, whether you live in Australia, whether you live in Africa. This declaration, this revelation is for all people. That's what we have read. That's what we have. I've explained to you what general revelation is. It's for all people, in all places, during all of history. People are not able to run away from this revelation. No atheist will be able to run away from general revelation. No agnostic will be able to run away from this general revelation. Every person on the face of this earth cannot ignore the general revelation. Turn to Romans chapter 1 and verse 20. We have already spent time in Romans, but I'd like to look at this verse since we are speaking about general revelation. Romans 1 and verse 20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. Have you read that? Here we see that the creation reveals God's eternal power and divine nature. And this has been the case from when? From the very beginning, when the world was first created. Therefore, anyone, anywhere, anytime in the world, when looks at the cosmos, the creation, the universe, and then deny the existence of God. Do you know what Paul's saying here? They're without excuse. They are without excuse. God has revealed himself through creation. God has revealed himself through cosmos. And he has revealed himself to all people. That's why this is known as the general revelation. It's for all people, in all places, during all of history. As I said to you before, this is the cosmological view or the cosmological argument. Let's look at the second why, how this general revelation has been communicated to us. When we look at the cosmos or the universe or the world or the orderly arrangement that we see in the universe, what do we see? We see design. We see design. The second why, the general revelation that has been communicated to us is known as, this view is known as the teleological view or the teleological argument. This argument has to do with design. When you look at a marvelous building, like a beautiful cathedral, if you go to European countries, you will see beautiful old cathedral buildings. There has to be an architect behind those constructions. Has to be. When you listen to a beautiful piece of classical music, there has to be a music composer behind that piece of music. When you read a book, there has to be an author behind the book. When you look at the creation, there has to be the creator behind the creation. Do you know what I find interesting though? There are people who will have no problem in believing there's an architect behind a construction. They will have no problem in believing that there's a music composer behind the beautiful classical music. They will have no problem in believing there's an author behind a book. But then they have a huge problem. They're adamant. They look at the creation and they say, but there is no creator. They refuse to believe there's the creator behind the creation. How is it possible for chance or random chance to produce this cosmos? And I will not have time to even begin. I don't know where to begin. Which is so highly organized. Just look at the design. This cosmos, this world, this universe has been designed. It's designed. This creation is incredibly complex and intricately beautiful. Designed perfectly. According to one writer, and I'm guessing these are all approximate figures, nevertheless very, very close figures. We are living here on Earth, aren't we? This is planet Earth. And I'm going to spell some figures out so that you can understand what we're talking about, okay? This Earth weighs about, I'm going to spell it out for you, 6,570 000 000 000 000 000 000 tons. There are 18 zeros after 6,570. It's not that big. Not that big. The Earth is about 8,000 miles in diameter. I'm not speaking about the radius. I'm speaking about the diameter. The Earth is about 8,000 miles in diameter. The circumference of the Earth is 25,000 miles. I'm not speaking in kilometers, by the way. I'm speaking in miles. 25,000 miles. The Earth travels 595 000 000 000 miles every year circling the sun. And I want you to listen carefully now. Though the Earth travels circling the sun 595 000 000 000 miles every year, year in, year out, and you know what? It doesn't even miss a beat. If it did miss a beat, you will be in real problem here on Earth. Do you know, my watch, it's a good watch by the way, but still it's not perfect. Battery runs down, sometimes it's a bit fast, bit slow. You know the clock in your car? It's not perfect. But look at the clock, 595 000 000 miles every year. The Earth is circling year in, year out from the first day, and it never misses a beat. How is that possible? Big Bang? How can this be possible without someone who is sustaining? How can this be possible without someone controlling? God is the controller. God is the designer. God is the sustainer. When you look at the creation, there is proof everywhere that God exists. You know, I read an illustration about a skeptic whose name we don't know, and how he was influenced by this teleological argument. What is this argument? This argument is from design. Let me try to paraphrase, because it has a bit of an old English. I'm trying to paraphrase this now for us. It was a beautiful evening. The sun was setting. And this skeptic was sitting on this grass. There were flowers everywhere. It was all golden. The flowers were all golden. He was reading a book written by Plato, by the light of the setting sun. You may have heard about Plato. You know, these are the philosophers, Socrates, Plato. And as this skeptic was reading this book by Plato, he came to this sentence that Plato wrote. Are you listening? God geometrizes. Now, you may have heard about geometry, and probably when you're going through your schooling, you had to study geometry. And when he read that, he threw Plato's book, and the book fell on a beautiful little flower. The flower was fresh and bright. He broke the flower from the silvery stem and he began to study the structure of that flower. He found that particular flower had 5 parts. And then he looked a bit further. He found another 5 parts. And then he looked at the base of that flower, which was also made up of 5 parts. 5, 5, 5. There was this combination of 5 in this one little flower. The last sentence that he had just read from Plato's book was God geometrizes. Quickly he started to calculate the chances against such a production of those 3 equations of 5 in just one flower, and he came up with the number 125. Then he extended his calculations to 2 flowers, and the number went up to 15,625. And then he looked at the forest, and the forest was full of these golden flowers. He picked up the book that he threw. He kissed the book and the flower. There were tears of joy. There were birds singing on the green branches, saying farewell to the day that was departing. And the skeptic, he was so filled with excitement. He said to the little birds, "Sing on, sunny birds. Sing on, sweet minstrels. Lo, you and I have a God." I did a quick experiment in a little lounge room. Sue has got these plants on the coffee table, African violet, lilies and all sorts of plants, on the coffee table. I thought I will look into some of these things, There was geometry. There was geometry. When you go home, and if you have got a little garden, you look at the flowers. You look at, there's a geometry. There are 5 or 6 or whatever the numbers may be. And it just stays on the same number. It doesn't change. I was looking at the leaf that had a design, exactly the same design. There is geometry. There is shape. There is design. Do that, okay? We are talking about general revelation. General revelation. Let me just summarize what we have looked at so far. We have looked at these questions. How do you know that God exists? Are there ways of knowing the existence of God? How has God revealed himself to us? We have looked at these questions. We have learned that there are 2 ways how God has revealed himself to us: the general revelation and the special revelation. And today we have looked at the first part of the general revelation. What is the general revelation? You should be able to answer this question now. God has revealed himself to all people in all places during all of history. Therefore, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, people have a sense of God, and they are without excuse if they reject God. This revelation of God is known as the general revelation. Now, how has this general revelation been communicated to us, to mankind? How did we receive this general revelation? Well, we have looked at the 2 ways how this general revelation has been communicated to us. First of all, we have looked at how the general revelation has been communicated to us through cosmos, the cosmological view or the cosmological argument. Secondly, we have looked at how this general revelation has been communicated to us through design, the teleological view or the teleological argument. Now we need to keep something very important in mind, and I'm going to share this with you before I finish off. General revelation doesn't save people. General revelation informs people. General revelation reveals, declares, and proclaims the existence of God to people, and people are without excuse. But keep in mind, people are not saved by general revelation. For people to be saved, they need the special revelation.